Hello guys, I was struggling with fuel pressure with my Mustang, and I put this pump in, and this pump could only give me about 3 and sometimes 4 psi with fuel pressure, and that's not cutting it with a carburetor. So I decided to go ahead and upgrade and get a better pump. Now the pump I don't have it's installed already, so I won't be able to really show you a picture of it. I'll probably post a photo. I'll try to let you see where I got it installed. It's in a different place than normal, but it's where I put it, and it's working great. So it's not a recommended place to put it for this vehicle. Usually it's right after the fuel pump, after the fuel tank, and then make sure it's below the fuel tank. But I got it mounted a little bit closer to the front of the car. This place was already, had some rust on it and whatnot, so I went ahead and cut it out. It is a support area, but there's enough bracing there to make the support take care of itself without being weak. So I went with this location. So this is a Sniper, a Holley Sniper fuel pump, and this is the paperwork on it. And I got this one right here, which is the 140 free flow. So it requires a regulator. So, and I also wanted to do a return line. Now this setup right here is a deadhead pump, and I have a deadhead regulator. So I'll show you how I made that work out for me, and still was able to get it to have a return aligned to the tank. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not a fan of drilling holes in gas tanks and whatnot. This place right here was already tapped for a drain, tank drain. So I used fittings to put my return line in right here, and you can see the fuel filter is over there in the middle, right where the sending unit is. So I chose this setup for me, and it's working good. So it's, I guess, a preference to what you want, because as long as it works, it's good for me. Also, I ran all new fuel lines. I got a line bender from Harbor Freight, and that worked out good. And that yellow switch down there is a cutoff switch. So if I ever have to change my pump because it breaks or whatnot, I can cut the fuel off, not worry about draining the tank, and I can go ahead and switch that out real quick. So it's always good to have you a drain cutoff somewhere in your setup. Use it for security too. All right, now we're up here in the engine bay, and you can see my regulator right there. That's a Holley regulator. That's a deadhead regulator. So you can see this is my input for my fuel, and both of these lines are outputs, but I chose to use this output to go back to the tank. Now, you have to have a restriction on that line, because if you don't, you won't have any pressure. So I'm utilizing another valve here, and I can shut it off just enough to let fuel through, and I can see my adjustment of how much pressure or restriction I am putting on that line, because I can adjust fuel pressure here, and I also got a opportunity to adjust the fuel pressure there, because if I shut that completely off, it'll give full pressure, and if I want to to lower the pressure, all I got to do is open it up to a point where I can see how much pressure I'm reading on my gauge right here. So I'm going to crank it up and give you a chance to see that I'm running right at 6 psi, and it's not bouncing around or anything, giving me constant pressure. So this setup can work, even though they have regulators with return lines, but that return line feature is just a restriction, and you only have that one adjustment anyway. It's with the top of the regulator, which is right up here. I'll go ahead and crank it up for you. This is a cold start. I haven't cranked it up today, so. Holding right at 6 psi. Working great. And I couldn't get that with that Holley, with this black pump. Like I said before, I can only get 3, 4 psi. It wouldn't be constant to change, but with the with the Sniper Holley, I'm able to get 6 psi all the time, and I can show you that I can adjust it by using this. See it change as soon as I open it up, and I close it right back.